So what's up, guys? Calvin from Nowhere Drive 229 here. It is a very gloomy day in the Atlanta, Georgia. But I had a request for a couple topics that people asked me to talk about as far as the M3s go. So I figured, why not? The first thing I heard people asking about was basically explain the benefits of dual clutch versus the benefits of a stick shift. And that was honestly a hard one for me, so I figured that would be one that you guys would definitely want to hear about. So, as a little bit of a basic explanation of the transmissions, of course, a manual, you work the clutch, you roll the gears. I'm pretty sure people know what a manual is, stick shift, standard, whatever you call it. And then you have a dual clutch transmission, which basically means car has two clutches, one for odd gears, one for even gears. There's always one ready to engage, so you get really fast shifts, especially in the dual clutch transmission in the E92 M3 or any M car. I personally, as you probably have seen from my other videos, I have the dual clutch transmission. And I'm going to speak to y'all as to why I chose to go that route as opposed to going with a standard shift manual car. Basically, for me, what it came down to is I live in Atlanta, Georgia. It's not a matter of if you run into traffic, it's when you run into traffic. And it can be very irritating to be going through traffic, clutch in, trying to get through the gear. It's too much. So for me, it's a little bit of an irritant to have to deal with shifting all the time. The dual clutch transmission, to me, kind of combines a lot of the good feelings of having a manual transmission without having to deal with the hassle of having a manual transmission. So what you get is really fast shifts. I mean, the car shifts in so many milliseconds. I mean, with the tune, the dual clutch transmission in the M cars shifts almost as fast as the PDK does. If you ever driven, of course, with the PDK, then you know that is a ridiculously fast, smooth transmission. That is the best dual clutch on the planet, in my opinion. But the dual clutch in the M3 is good. As far as it working in traffic, honestly, it didn't work as great as I expected it to. It's still a lot more convenient than having to work a clutch in a manual shift car. But like I've mentioned in previous videos, the automatic mode on the M3, as far as the way it shifts when you just let it do its own thing, is not that good. So sometimes in traffic, which I'm kind of sort of in traffic now, not really bad, but in traffic sometimes it's kind of like if you're not paying attention to it, it'll be sitting in third gear when you really need to be in like first or second. So you'll get ready to accelerate up to try to get into a lane, and you're not able to do that because the car doesn't have you in the right gear. That's a little irritating. I mean, to fix that, a lot of times what I end up doing is just driving the car in the manual mode of the dual clutch transmission, which usually fixes that because I'm not having to work the clutch, but I'm still able to stay in the gear that I want to stay in. So it's not bad. It's not that irritating. It's just a little bit irritating in automatic mode. But in manual mode, first of all, anybody who lives in reality knows a dual clutch transmission is faster than a manual. That's on the track, in a straight line, however you want to chalk it up. The dual clutch is faster, period. That's science. However, I feel like the dual clutch transmission in the E92 doesn't take away a lot of that fun factor that a manual has. Because with a manual, you're in full control. So, you know, you can throw the gears in hard if you want to and dump the clutch and all that stuff. The E92 M3 with the dual clutch transmission will do all of that. Like when you shift, it gives you a nice kick in the back, where you can turn it down to where it's just a smooth shift. Or it will dump the clutch. If I'm sitting at a red light and I just nail it, it revs up to 4K, dumps the clutch, your tires go crazy. But as far as offering the full manual experience, of course it doesn't do that. That being said, there is a reason to go with the manual over the dual clutch. And if this car is going to be something you solely drive on weekends, not dealing with traffic, all you want to do is track it, or all you want to do is hit some back roads and you don't really care about lap times, you don't care about stuff like that, the manual transmission is full force fun. Like, it's fun times 10. Whereas the dual clutch transmission would be fun to the 9th degree. So with the manual transmission, what you get is the ability to do burnouts. Not something I would do often because tires are not cheap on this car. But you get the ability to do burnouts. Drifting is a whole lot easier if you're into that type of thing. You pretty much have full control over this car. With the dual clutch transmission, for example, you cannot bounce off the rev limiter. In first gear, you can. Well, at least I know mine will. I don't know about other people. But in first gear, you can bounce off the rev limiter. So you can do a little bit of a burnout there with that if you're really careful with it and kind of figure out what you want to do. But with the manual, you can bounce off the rev limiter all you want. Tear your car up if you want to. Dual clutch, after you get past first gear into second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, it just cuts the power when you hit the red line. Like, it doesn't bounce off the rev limiter. It just hits, cuts. You have to shift into the next gear in order to get it to keep going. you know, it's a good safety feature. And if, like I said, if you're going in a straight line and you care about times, you can't beat it. But for pure fun, if you like bounce off the rev limiter sometimes and getting your drift on and doing some nice burnouts and, you know, all that type of stuff, get the manual transmission. As far as explaining the modes in the dual clutch transmission, I kind of touched on them in the E92 M3 explain video. But basically what you have is you have 5 different modes where, well, actually there are 6, but 5 standard modes where you can change the shift timing of the car. So I mentioned sometimes that when you have the car in S3 and down, you don't get rev match downshifts. S4 through S6 you do. So what happens is, and I'm gonna see if y'all can hear this. Hold on one second. So right now I'm riding along in 7th gear. Every time I shift down, the car rev matches. So, see what I'm saying? And then if I go down into 2nd, see how it makes that noise, and then you can throw it back into the gear, do whatever you want. Then if I go back down into 3rd, it's always ready to put me back in the right gear. I don't know if y'all can hear me or that with the wind noise, but I'll try to get y'all a better video of it if that doesn't work. But basically what happens is the car rev matches to get you to the point in the RPM band where you can get the most power out of the car. For me, that comes in handy when I'm having some spirited driving or on the track or whatever, and I'm coming up to a curve, and in a manual I would have to downshift and try to keep my car in the right RPM band. Well, this car kind of does all that for you. So basically all I have to do is tap the pedal to get back to 2nd gear. I'm back in the RPM band I need, then I just press the gas and I go. That's what happens with the rev match downshifts. If you are in a less aggressive mode like S3, and I'm actually coming up to a red light here, so you're just gonna downshift, and it's just a smooth downshift, just like you would in a regular manual car with no rev matching. You don't get that thwappy rev match, that throttle blip. You don't get that in the lower modes. I personally keep it in the higher modes because I like a faster shift anyway. That's kind of why I bought the car, for the fun factor of that. But if I am just kind of chilling and I don't really want to think about any of that, I really just want to get to work and get back home, I leave it in D3, let it do its thing. It's a little irritating sometimes because it doesn't want to downshift when I want it to, but for the most part, if I'm not driving aggressively, it really doesn't matter. So guys, that's just a little bit about the dual clutch transmission versus the manual. Feel free to leave comments about anything that I didn't mention, guys. Anything that you may want to know about the dual clutch versus the manual. I'm always willing to comment back to you, leave some responses. If you go on our IG page, there's a contact button that has our email address on there. Feel free to email us as well. Any questions that you may have about anything you want to see us review, anything you want to hear us talk about. I know a lot of the M3 guys have been coming to me, have been emailing me through that, or finding me on my other IG page, actually, my personal IG page, and asking me questions about the M3. I'm happy to answer anything that I can, and if I don't know it, I will find it out for you. So guys, this has been Calvin from NWD229. Got more videos coming, y'all. Stay tuned.
It's love is for us. It's for